Welcome to another video. This time we want to go through the Dark Knight's rotation and I want to explain you on which things I take a keener look or stick my focus to, so that you can really understand how the basics work and what you actually need to take care of and maybe how your learning curve should look like. And first of all, I highly recommend to get somewhere onto that 1000 skill speed, or without talking about certain values in concretion, check out these videos I made about the optimal gearing requirements for Shadowbringers, for example, or check out the Dark Knight guide, maybe one of my recent ones, the True Beginner's Guide, or the 5-minute guide. I think there should be the most recent information. Otherwise, of course, go to the balance. They always have the most fresh and up-to-date information for you. Okay, nonetheless, otherwise go for critical hit and direct hit as best as you can, and note that direct hit can only be melded through materia, so you cannot have direct hit on any gear piece, so just go for crit and determination and try to use every slot that cannot be melded as a critical hit for direct hit afterwards. Okay, coming to the rotation. In this video, specifically, I haven't performed this rotation kind of correctly. You can say that definitely, because it's really not the optimal thing. I just did one mistake, but I think we can explain, or I can explain you what actually went wrong and what I wanted to achieve otherwise. But as these power test videos were kind of going for the goal of not actually teaching those rotations, but more like showing what the job is actually capable of doing, this was still the best result out of at least 10 tries. I always do 10 tries with each job for these power test videos. Kind of clean runs that are not completely fucked up with the rotation. So this was still one of the better ones, and from the result, this was the best one. So I just took this and threw out some music. I hope that it's okay and we can still learn from my mistakes maybe. That's actually a good thing to do, I guess. Okay, starting, you want to directly start into combat with at least one weapon skill, and the first weapon skill you're always doing is Hard Slash. And after Hard Slash, I just recommend to not use Delirium or anything like that. You could do that. You could start and smash in Delirium directly, so that you can get your free Blood Spillers afterwards, because Delirium opens up your window for using Blood Spillers. And note, you need that skill speed value that I recommended to directly and exactly get in these 5 Blood Spiller attacks into your window of Delirium. And the same goes for Blood Weapon kinda, because on Blood Weapon each attack you use will generate 10 blood gauge points, and I highly recommend to go at least to 1000 or around, I think 965 is the exact value that I remember to have, but I'm really not sure right now. I think the more the better, until you don't waste too much critical hit stats here as well, because that's still your biggest attack buffer and attack boost, so definitely go for crit no matter the costs. But at least 1000 skill speed, around that. On Blood Weapon, it's not a very big deal, but it still should be avoided, and you should try to focus on getting 5 of your weapon skills into Blood Weapon, so that you can generate the maximum amount of blood gauge out of it. So this actually means that in the perfect scenario, which I didn't do actually, you want to use Blood Weapon directly to get your first weapon skill after your first Hard Slash, because doing this pre-pour, which I tried to teach in my first Dark Knight video in Shadowbringers, where this was really early on, I think that could misalign with some stuff that is happening during that encounter and during your opener phase. So I highly recommend to just use this after or right before using your Siphon Strike. So at this point, and to avoid not using 5 weapon skills inside of that Blood Weapon duration, you should always use Blood Weapon as the second OGCD that you weave in between your GCD timers. So when you, for example, you start with Hard Slash, the best thing you should directly do, and this is what I didn't do here, I'm sorry about that, is that you should use your, I think it's Shadow Edge, right? Shadow's Edge or Shadow Edge? I'm sorry, I'm not sure about the name right now. But the one that attacks your target, which is a single target attack, Edge of Shadow, here we go. It's Edge of Shadow, sorry. Edge of Shadow, so Edge of Shadow will also give you this damage boost that you can see on this little gauge here, on this gauge icon. And that is really helpful to start into your rotation and have everything buffed already. So Hard Slash is not buffed, that's something that's not a problem, but everything else is buffed and you can directly start here being buffed already. And that will also help you in using Blood Weapon at the perfect spot so that you have this kinda delayed a bit so that you really have time to get these 5 weapon skills in that window. And also use this for Siphon Strike already. That is your next GCD attack in this duration here. We're just slowing it down a bit, and then we'll look at what I did here, and that is actually not the optimal one, because I delayed using my Edge of Shadow here. That could also buff my Siphon Strike. And of course, using Plunge here is really optional. Sometimes I highly recommend, if actually positioning of the boss is really important, I kinda recommend to not do it at all, because then you can have the boss running to a certain spot that you don't want him to run, and you can better direct the boss's movement and facing by just pulling him with either your ranged attack or by just using Provoke for the first time, if you don't need Provoke after that. Yeah, I think that's your best bet if you're really need to care as a tank about positioning. And of course, always start with a countdown. That will help your teammates in getting their proper rotation out, and that's actually the key to everything we're explaining here. These cooldowns and countdowns for your party members really make a difference, especially on jobs like Dancer, Red Mage, Black Mage, actually all jobs. They really benefit from a countdown, so do it and don't avoid that people are just mindlessly spamming everything and oh damn, he just rushed into the boss, I need to do something else than my usual rotation. That's really a bad thing, and you want to avoid that as a tank, especially. Okay, after that, I should have done Edge of Shadow, but I didn't. So I think what was the reason here? Okay, I used the pot here on start of it, but I think the pot can be used on many points on the Dark Knight rotation. I have to admit, I'm not sure about the exact 100% perfectly calculated opener for the Dark Knight for 5.4 right now. Definitely check out the balance to do that, but I think as this is the best result I did here, it's still okay. It's still a good result. It's still way above everything we did before with having that high gear, of course, but it's really a good start into the Dark Knight, and just stick to the basics. Everything else is just so much more goes to fine-tuning that you don't really need to care about this unless you are at this spot that, sorry, but you don't need this video at this spot. If you're really into fine-tuning, for you actually know what the balance calculated mathematical perfect rotation of the Dark Knight looks like, this may just be the video for you if you like, me speaking to this kind of topic and you kind of think this is entertaining. Thank you if that is the case. But let's go further into detail and see what I did there. So I actually delayed all of the things that are kind of essential here due to using my pot on this spot, which is really kind of stupid. I don't know why I did that and what went into my mind here, because you could actually swap that. You could just go the other way around. You could just, or you should actually use Hard Slash, then use Edge of Shadow, then use Blood Weapon, and then go into Siphon Strike, and after Siphon Strike you could use the pot. That would be a solid spot for the pot here, because then you can start or use your Soul Eater afterwards, and you would directly have access to your Living Shadow, which is a Living Shadow should always come as soon as possible, and therefore you should try to optimize your Blood Weapon usage. But yeah, I don't think that's a big problem, or at least you could use Living Shadow after the next Heart Slash, if I calculated right, because Soul Eater gives you 20 of blood gauge, and you get 10 for each weapon skill, so you are at 40 right now after using Soul Eater. Yeah, okay, with the next Heart Slash, you would be able to use Living Shadow, and yeah, if you really want Living Shadow to be out earlier, if you have kind of a party setup where buffs are coming in very, very soon, very early in the fight, maybe after the 4th or 5th global cooldown. I don't know if there are actually setups that recommend this or use this. Then, of course, you should try to use Blood Weapon just a very small fraction before actually starting the fight with your Heart Slash. So you would just do Blood Weapon, Heart Slash, and start the fight with Heart Slash. But between Blood Weapon and Heart Slash, there shouldn't be any time at all. So using Blood Weapon and Heart Slash directly afterwards. I think that's still a problem because I'm really not sure if that actually is clipping already. But it could be. It could be because yeah, you're actually clipping, I think. But yeah, of course, if really getting out your Living Shadow as soon as possible and maybe running a high skill speed build where this kind of little clipping doesn't make much of a difference, then I think, yeah, it could be worth doing. But it could be worth doing. Sorry, not worse. Worse is actually the wrong term here. Sorry. Okay, let's start what we're doing afterwards and when is our Delirium window, which is the most important thing actually. So as you have 30 seconds on your pot, that's really a long duration. And to be honest, nothing after Living Shadow and Delirium is really sensational. So every point of DPS happens in these minutes, in these seconds, in these duration windows. So you should have the pot at least running over these both windows, Living Shadow and Delirium in this case. And when you have this kind of opening or this rotation part again in a certain encounter at, I guess, 3 minutes or 4 minutes, I'm really not sure. But at around these spots when both cooldowns having reset at the same time, there's the good spot to use the pot another time. If you're really having a long fight or yeah, actually a raid encounter, most of these take around 8 minutes or more. So or 6 to 8 minutes, I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. But yeah, there should be the second pot. But yeah, afterwards you just run through your rotation like going with Siphon Strike. And here I did use my Edge of Shadow. No, I actually didn't use my Edge of Shadow here. That's really, really stupid. So this is really wrong. Please ignore everything that is happening here. But yeah, of course, these auto attacks don't make sense anyway. So just ignore what's actually happening here. That's really a mistake. You should definitely get out Edge of Shadow early on. So this is really your goal. You first do is Heart Slash, Edge of Shadow, Blood Weapon, Siphon Strike, Edge of Shadow again. Maybe use something like Carve and Spit here or Abyssal Drain if you're really going for damage and don't want to use that self-healing potential as well. Yeah, and then try to get done your OGCDs in between by using Carve and Spit, like I said. And here on Heart Slash, in the usual case, if I had done this correctly, you would already be able to summon your Living Shadow, which is very strong at this point, because getting it out as early as possible is really the thing to go, because he really has a very, very long summoning delay, because he's just standing up and before everything happens, he's getting into position, weaving his sword, and that really takes some time, kinda. And the first attack that your Living Shadow is doing, that is at least, I think, 2 GCDs after you are actually using your Living Shadow. So take into consideration that using this as early as possible, because it's actually a long cooldown as well, this will line up better with cooldown. So on this kind of isolated dummy test, it doesn't matter, it doesn't make a difference, because you don't have buffs from other people except that you're having your own attacks buffed by your pot. But when you would run this in a party composition, that would make a difference, definitely. And you should try to avoid what I did here and get Living Shadow out as early as possible. Then, after Living Shadow, that at this point, you can, whenever you want, you can use Delirium. But note that when now you would use Delirium, you don't need to sacrifice your Soul Eater to do that, because, or you actually don't need to use Soul Eater now just to get this proc or this combo consecution done properly, because when using Delirium and then Blood Spillers into that window, this actually won't interrupt your combo sequence. You can just use Soul Eater afterwards if yeah, the boss is not transitioning, or you won't be delayed by that. So I highly recommend to just try out to get your Blood Spillers as best as possible, because you want to do them 5 times anyway. So that's really your goal. That's the key on the on the Dark Knight's rotation. That is really key, and actually everything you need to take care of when talking about the basic fundamentals that really cost you DPS if you do them incorrectly. But yeah, of course, then try to get your squeeze in your MP. That's the second essential thing. And actually something I really made a mistake here. I really saved up too much MP. I'm completely in combat, as you can see, and I'm still stuck on 10,000 MP, which you should definitely avoid, because yeah, it can regenerate. At the point you're using something, it can regenerate and will grant you more access to more of these edges of shadow. So try to use them as soon as possible. Like I said, Hard Slash, Edge of Shadow, Blood Weapon, Siphon Strike, Edge of Shadow, maybe Carve and Spit, then Soul Eater, or you can use a pot anywhere in between that. Instead of using 2 OGCDs at that point, because the pot is really having a very long animation delay, and you don't want to use that in combination with another OGCD, as well as maybe Salted Earth. That could cause, when you have not the best ping and not the best Ethernet connection, that it could cause some delay, and you could not properly or smoothly get another OGCD into that. But in my case, I think, at least when I switched to my new Ethernet company, the new Ethernet company providing me with better Ethernet connection, I haven't run into any problem by just double weaving Salted Earth with anything else. And yeah, here we go into Delirium, right somewhere, anywhere after Living Shadow. It's really not a big thing. You could just directly use Living Shadow in between your weapon skill and throw in Delirium after you cast Living Shadow. So this really is no problem. And yeah, as you can see, it's really kind of close still, but not as close as it looks, maybe because the time was actually not so close. Even if the timer is about to fall off, you can still use the Delirium, but yeah, make sure that you have enough skill speed that this will never happen, and you will always have your 5 Delirium procs in your potion window and in the window of other party members contributing to your DPS with their buffs. And yeah, that's actually it. That's really it. Afterwards, you're just spamming in your combo like Hard Slash, Siphon Strike, Soul Eater, and use Edge of Shadow whenever you got MP, unless you're actually the tank and want to avoid damage with the Blackest Night, because that is actually always a defensive advantage when you can use it, and it will be completely absorbed to give you this free proc of Edge of Shadow or Flood of Shadow, and this will always be a benefit to your defensive value onto your party. And of course, yeah, defensive things, check them out in the guide on the balance, or just read your tooltips. Like always, that's really the most helpful recommendation I can give you. Read your tooltips. Okay, that's it. That's really basically everything starting in the first 15 seconds. If you get used to it, that's most of it, and you don't need to be complicated or overcomplicate things too much, because they are actually not. So it's kind of straightforward, slashing in, being the gritty and edgy boy and girl, whatever, the dark soul of your party, and just embrace darkness as best as you can. Thank you for watching. Sorry for that long video, like always. I think I could compress them a bit more, but yeah, I'm really having a busy schedule right now. I'm really sorry, but there will be scripted content, or more scripted content, coming up in the next weeks. And I hope you enjoy the content still and have something useful coming from them, from these explanations. And yeah, I hope you can improve enjoying your job in the best way possible. Thank you for watching. Until next time, stay safe, stay healthy, and of course, keep loving Final Fantasy and embrace the darkness.